Hot light. Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, it is Monday, is it not? Let's see. Is this live? Are we live? Might help if I turn the camera on, huh? How y'all doing? Good to see you. Man, what a busy morning it has been. Welcome everybody. Thank you for stopping in and adding to the journey. Much appreciated. Thank you, moderators, and just welcome one and all. So good to see y'all. How was your Saturday and Sunday? Hope it was good. And, hope you're enjoying the ride. It's what the ride is all about. It's about, your experience. That's what it is. And I hope it's a good one. Hello, Infant Frequencies. How are you doing? Let me just speak favor over all of us. Nothing missing, nothing broken. I tell you what, 2020, year of balance. So absolutely. So let's just remember here, everybody has a belief. And one of the rules that we have here is no proselytizing. You can carry that out the door and do it somewhere else. Here, we like to keep the energy of a level that, we respect all gods. Whatever anyone wants to believe, fine. We just don't want to hear it here. We talk about other things here, and I respect all beliefs. So there we go. And the moderators know that they'll put you in timeout. And you get put out timeout too many times, you get put out. So, hey, Richard, how are you doing? Good to see. Barry, how you doing, my friend? Twisted Isby, hello. Susie Cube, hello. Barry, good to see you. Mark Smith, hello. Athena, good to see you. Scotty Boy, hello. So it's Monday all around the world. Well, no, because by the time my noon is here, it's already Tuesday somewhere else. So, yeah. Let's see what's going on. So much happening. It's definitely weird. Tomorrow, by the way, happy birthday to everybody who has one. Second look with Miss Trina Phoenix. We'll have a lot to discuss. There is just a lot going on. And I am just so pleased to let everyone know Friday night, you want to spread this around on what other social media you're there. If you visit other platforms, people will want to come and hear this. Watch it. This is going to be an interview, folks. I am about a third way through the book. And it's an amazing tale. So what am I talking about? Well, let me just show you what I am talking about. Friday night, folks, we're going to have John Edmonds and Bruce McDonald, the Stardust Ranch. This is the story, folks. You've heard a Skywalker Ranch and what have you. Folks, this is the place. We're going to have John and Bruce on, and they're going to be, I am absolutely thrilled that they chose this channel to come on. This is, again, their book that is just come out. It's a fabulous read. I was telling my wife about this morning, and she said, I want to read it. And, and my wife's very discriminatory. She's a avid reader like I am. But all I had to do was tell her about the first three incidences. She says, I want to read the book. So remember, Friday night, 7 p.m., come. I'm going to continue to promote this all week. Folks, this is just an incredible story. I mean, you're going to love it. So anyway, there we go. Let me just stop the share there. And like I said, I am enjoying the book so much. It's available on Amazon. I think there's even an EPUB book for it as well. Go and read it ahead of time. It'll make the story that John and Bruce will tell you about. It's freaking-tastic is what it is. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. Going to be fun. And yeah, that ranch, whoo, man. I'd like to go out there. I think that I think the energies are, it's something else again. And then when I think about it, I'm going, well, sometimes, you just don't want to kick a bear. If a bear is asleep, just let it keep sleeping, just walk on by. But yeah. So, and we've got finishing up a story today. The conclusion of The Secret of Secrets is one, could y'all just kind of put that, listen, I don't know, Elle, what the deal is here, but this is not your channel. This is not your platform. And I don't appreciate that. I think you can be much more respectful of whatever God it is, but don't push your God over on me. So put that person in timeout, folks. I mean, I tried to be respectful and discreet to begin with, but obviously that didn't take. So, hey, you just sometimes have to just say it how it is, folks. And again, I'm serious about this. Everybody is welcome here. Everybody. But you start trying to use my platform for yours, and I'll show you the door and I'll hand you your hat as you're going out. That's not what this is about. And I have a responsibility of what goes on in that chat room, even though I don't watch it. That's why I have moderators. And that's how it is, folks. And if you don't want to abide by that, well, go somewhere else. It's cool. I'm going to do it then. Exactly. Thank you. I don't want that nonsense in here. Take it somewhere else. And do you see the vibe that comes off of that? See, that's what I don't dig at all. The thing about religion, folks, it's racist. It's racist at its core. Why? Because you're the chosen ones. You're the one that's chosen to receive the message of the divine enlightenment. Really? Really? I mean, come on. How much of a hell would it be that everybody would have to think the way that you do? Yikes. I'm glad no one else thinks much like the way I do. It's like we all got our own color, and it just works. So, yeah. So let's move on, because this week I am dedicating all the programs about what's going on underground. Yeah. I mean, it appears that underground is where it's at. I mean, I was doing research over the weekend and working on the programs later this week, and came across the fact, get this, folks, if you lived underground from the moment that you were born until the day that you transcend to the other side, you're going to live longer than the people on the top side. The fact is, yes, wasn't it, Marcia? Exactly. The fact is that when you look at this, the sun is bad for us. It's just bad. Yes, you have to have the vitamin D, and I get that, but that can be brought in by other supplements. The sun that we have is, it shortens our life. Living on the surface, it exposes us to cosmic rays and particles and things that just don't do our DNA real good. And it ages us. prematurely, may I say. I think it's ridiculous to think that 100 years is exceptional. And the problem is that when you get to 100 years, your body is so freaking wore out. I mean, what good is that? You know, it comes a point in time where you're just going to say, I've had enough. And they do. And that's what happens. You just have enough. You know, your energy is depleted. Your body has, you know, given its all. And, you know, that just sucks. I think the movie Dustin Hoffman was in, Mr. Megorium's Wonderful Emporium. Now, that's the way to go. You know, you got an appointed date and time, and it's not something to be feared. It's an excitement for the next part of the journey. How many of you saw that movie? Great movie, by the way. Excuse me, Claudette? We get that point. Oh, well, gee, okay. What a crowd today. You know, let's forget about the guy who's driving the bus. I mean, Claudette, I'll be more than happy to hand you the keys if that's what you want. You know, I don't know how to take that. You know, how, you know, see, that's the problem even with communication. You don't know quite what the spirit and the intent is that something's being said. So anyway, moving on along, the point this week will be is that it appears the original inhabitants that are actually native here, which is not humans, have been living under the ground almost from the beginning. Apparently living on the top is not where the action is. And depending on how we look at it, we're going to actually see Admiral Byrd's written testimony. Apparently this round globe of ours has got much more mass on the inside than what is been told us. And, you know, apparently as the story goes, and it's from multiple points of view, that's the way they like it. But it's interesting here in the United States. Now, if you pay taxes, it's odd how much of our tax dollars apparently have been going to these black op projects, building a literal highway. And there's a couple of entrances, but I'm thinking specifically the one in New Jersey. And it comes all the way across here to Denver. Denver is a major intersection, and then Denver splits off into other ways. And it's amazing. Apparently they have cities down there that, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that you say, well, now, wait a minute. How can they do that? Well, you'll see. The evidence is everywhere. And truck drivers, even though they have a strict policy of no pictures, and they're pretty good about it, but you know how it has. Everybody's got a cell phone. It used to be just a phone. Now it's a computer. It's a spying device, but it's also a camera, video camcorder. Remember that? I mean, it used to be you had all these things. But anyway, the pictures are there. These truckers know. They have rest stops along the way. They actually say that these communities, you know, are just something, it's just out of this world. Let's see what's going on. Blazing River, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, hey, Al, how are you doing? Al is driving an over-the-road rig. Yeah. But Al, I'm already live. It says live on YouTube. So I believe it is live. So let's finish out with what we were talking on the Secret of Secret. We had come to the epilogue, and we'll get this done in pretty quick. It's not that much left to do. And It's a story. I mean, it gets into some spots where those of you who've read it, I've gotten some of the emails back. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Anyway, it says, you have just read a rather amazing tale that ends abruptly for the reader. It begs the reader to ask many more questions. And this is exactly how the original Romanian edition of the book entitled Enemy Within ended. It resulted in a rash of communications to the publisher from a retired Romanian officials who validated different parts of the story which they knew to be true. Despite the remarkable nature of the findings, this story has remained largely unnoticed, particularly in America, save for those with the highest of security clearances. If the above does not convince you that there is considerable veracity to the story, I invite you to do your own study and analysis of the diplomatic relations between the United States and Romania. You will discover that the two countries have become political allies where they were not before. And, I found out, by the way, let me just digress a second, that many school districts in the United States no longer teach civics. Are we going to have a bunch of suckers coming up in the ranks? Oh, yeah. But the fact is, Romania was, the Iron Curtain, folks. I remember the Cold War. They had the Soviets were killing Romanians, Czechoslovakians. I remember the Romanian uprising. And, just looking at this from, a historical perspective on geopolitical topics, it's kind of odd that suddenly Romania went right to the top above the Ukraine. So anyway, it says you will discover that the two countries have become political allies where they were not before. Not only has Romania become a member nation of NATO during this period, but their country was chosen as a site for a major NATO summit in recent times. None of this is a coincidence. Romania is now center stage in the most mysterious of ways. To the average citizen of Earth, however, it goes unnoticed. When the original version of this book was published in Romania, the publisher was besieged with hundreds of phone calls and emails asking for details about Radu. Some were retired members of the Secret Service who had been highly placed and confirmed some of the events. Newspapers also published articles related to such, and the details of these are covered in Rudo's second book, of which I think I actually have got it. It should be here today. Anyway, now, the tunnel under the Sphinx in Giza. This party reaches the end of the tunnel without incident, and an occult chamber is discovered. It is actually described in minute detail and includes the following: an immense library full of tables, which is the obvious product of extraterrestrial technology and contains a history of our own galaxy and the universe. And let's see, an anti-gravity gliding device and a virtual replica of the enormous machine found in the projection hall that is adapted for human use. Caesar describes the latter in a time travel machine that allows the consciousness of the subject to be projected in an ever-increasing existing time dimension and gives full details of the true nature of time and the Akashic records. He also speaks of his time travel experiences. I thought about this as I looked at this, and I've ordered the additional books, but it makes sense. I don't believe you're going to ever physically go back. Maybe you do. Maybe this device here, but it takes your consciousness. Interesting. Towards the end of volume 3, the author describes his attempt to make use of the time machine. After 2 consecutive failures, he obtains a quick projection into a secret tunnel of the Great Pyramids of Cheops. Radu suddenly realizes that the scientific community does not have a clue about it when he is confronted with the vision of the real masters of the pyramids from long forgotten times. Radu understands exactly what I mean with regard to the comic book sphere, which he terms as a transference from the mystical to the mundane. Wow, if it becomes mundane, the mystical, wow, okay. This is a challenge to anyone who penetrates the loftier spheres of existence. Well, I guess we got some journeying to do, don't we? I haven't gotten there yet, I guess. Caesar is an obvious help to him in this regard. And he has emphasized to me that he has only included a very small part of the discussions he has had with Caesar as well as with other people. We are talking about the tip of an iceberg. As Radu wrote to me, fate gave me the extraordinary chance to be integrated into a complexity of events and amazing discoveries, and this created an almost incredible resonance of the ordinary man. Besides the exploration of the tunnel of Egypt, he has also traveled through the second tunnel and towards the center of the earth. He returned from this last venture in October 2008 and said it was an incontestable success. Well, that's quite a word, folks. You don't hear that word. Incontestable. It means it cannot be shown to be false. There were new discoveries, which he said would be hard for me or others to imagine. This might include in a possible fifth volume. The incontestable success he referred to in his endeavor includes what he called a diplomatic connection with the beings from the center of the earth. Caesar, he said, will be leaving Department Zero and going to this newly discovered locale to serve as an ambassador. This saddens Radu greatly as he will no longer have his mentor with him. There have also been significant changes in Department Zero. In 2009, a local television, Athena 1, briefly presented these events. After the show, they received an anonymous phone threat. This is the call translated, available at the time on YouTube. The reporter from Athena 1 answers the phone. Reporter, hello, good day. Anonymous caller, we're sending you a warning. Be very careful. Stop talking about the Boucherie Mountains. Reporter, who are you? Anonymous. This information must remain at the level of some structures and must not be made public. You've entered a dangerous game. You are young, you have families. There are enough subjects in this country to speak about. Reporter, Mr. Who are you? Mr. Anonymous, don't wish to know us. To be yourself, interviewed by us, that's all I have to say. Okay. Confirmations of this story. A confirmation of the giants in Romania can be found in a newspaper called The Newspaper. Well, there you go. Simplicity, folks. The team at the newspaper is accompanied by researchers Valisi Rudan, who noted that the stories of people from the village, and I apologize to our remaining audience, and we have a remaining audience. I think this is what, Bosaru, about giants who lived on lands, have concrete evidence. A cemetery with skeletons of giants. It was discovered by chance over 20 years ago when it was decided in a village called, and I think this is Skanani, to plant apple trees. Digging on the hill, the villagers discovered huge skeletons measuring about 2.4 meters or more. So just do your math. All right. A meter is 39 inches. So you got what? 3, 6. This is possibly right around 9, 10 feet, folks, thereabouts. Dagayo Ali, and I know I butchered that. One of those who worked in the apple orchard then takes us to the spot. By the height where trees were planted, down to the steep slope on a street choked with mud. Once they arrived, Mr. Lely, and I think that's correct, shows us around the orchard. Everywhere are tombs of the giants. We were making holes to plant saplings when we found a human head as big as a pumpkin. Neither one of us have ever seen anything like it. We were all amazed. Digging further, and we found some bones of the feet as big as the wine stakes. The dead ones must have been very big. I mean, folks, that's a huge foot. Whoa. Puts a new spin on being kicked in the ass, doesn't it? Drop kicked me anyway. My personal visits to Romania. On March 11, 2013, I spent 3 days in Romania, up in the Bușari Mountains. Unfortunately for me, the Sphinx and the Babili were not possible to get to, but I was able to personally verify a few things. One, not only could I feel a strong energy there, I also had a physical reaction to it. I was getting static shocks off of many things whenever I was close to the mountain. 2, when I drove past the hallway marked, the silence was deafening, but there was a strange sound up there which I cannot explain. 3, if I closed your eyes up there and close to there, I could observe strange shapes as if I was watching the energy move in front of me. Very strange. That is strange. On my return, the infections I had in both ears were gone, and a pain in my upper arm, which I had for a number of months, very quickly started to heal. Wow. I was, and at the time of writing still am, very, very tired all the time. Wow. The tunnel to the Sphinx in Egypt. In similar fashion to Romania, the SIRA ground-penetrating radar was deployed in Egypt as early as 1978, mapping an extraordinary subterranean complex beneath the Egyptian pyramids. This is the duality in many things, and the Sphinx is no exception. People tend to think the Sphinx is only looking to the stars. But if you follow the eyes on Earth, you will find that the Sphinx is looking directly to Mount Kailash. The Sphinx is an important guardian to these tunnels, and there is not one but 2 Sphinx connected to this. This is an old papyrus. As you can see, it's a doorway radiating energy with 3 tunnels by the Giza Sphinx, portrayed on the ancient parchment in Egypt. I mean, how far do we have to go back, right? The tunnel was not accessible at first from the underground chambers in the Great Pyramid, but the energy was known about and accessed via the pyramid. It's amazing all the stories we see about the pyramids, but never do they talk about the energy, huh? All right, Mount Kailash, Tibet. It is by 2 lakes, which look like and represent the sun and the moon, highly significant. And here you can see this is, I believe it's Lake Rashchatel left, which means Lake of the Demons. Yeah, and then on Lake Mansavar on the right, that means mind. Okay. It is a very religious pyramid-looking mountain to a number of religions, but less than 1,000 go there each year. It is only one of only a handful of mountains in the world. You cannot legally climb it, and it is very difficult to get to. There is a certain secret society that holds this place as one of the vital importance. It is rumored that when the ice finally melts, it will reveal the eye. This place alone is worth a lot of research. The World War II German expedition to Tibet uncovered something huge that Hitler took very seriously. It was from this moment that most of you know about the Hollow Earth, but it is far bigger than that one story. And here is a tapestry, I think. According to Hinduism, Lord Shiva, the destroyer of ignorance and illusions, resides inside the summit, where he sits in a state of perpetual meditation with his wife, Parvati. Well, there you go. Professor Ernest Moldezev, I think that is Moldezev, PhD, was born in 48, was a Bashkortostan doctor and a Tibetan explorer. He was a professor and director of Russian eye and plastic surgery centers. In his lifetime, he published over 300 scientific papers and held 52 patents. He wrote Das Dritte Auge, subsequently banned, about Samadhi caves on Mount Kailash. He accompanied the Chinese army in trying to enter the cave, but the soldiers were overcome with painful headaches, and some died of heart attacks the further in they went. This exactly mirrors what happened to the soldiers in Romania when they tried to get past the access inside the tunnel. He writes, in literature, there are plenty of temperature indications that the Shambhala is in Tibet, the Himalayas, and the surrounding area. Weather is Agartha, possibly in the area of the Egyptian pyramids. Consequently, the existence of two underground countries, the Shambhala and the Agartha, are each part of the gene pool of humanity in civilization. Wow. Information provided by the Thule Society, Eckhart and Hasselhoff, show there is a higher civilization coming from the Gobi, from the Himalayas, and divided into two branches, the Shambhala and the Agartha, the former being the center of power, protected by unknown forces and energy. One can assume that these places are the technologic civilization and gene pool of humanity. It seems that not only are there underground centers in Tibet and the Himalayas, but these tunnels are widespread all over the entire globe. May answer a lot of questions. I mean, the Human Genome Project, folks, it's history. We know. We're a hybrid. We're not humans, not even by the stretch of the imagination. We are the perfect definition of what a hybrid is. We're not humans, and I don't know what the other part of us is supposed to be. But maybe this is where that rhesus monkey blood got into our DNA. Who knows? He believes that some of our darkest moments in ancient history were related to energy and discovering the greatest of all sins, what happens in the afterlife. Let's just think that one thing really, you can meditate on this one. Walk around and think on this one. The greatest of all sins is that we learned what happens in the afterlife. He talks a lot about genes, DNA, as we now discovered. It wasn't discovered back then. The important part of the Romanian story is the DNA manipulation. He says this which mirrors the discovery. Shambhala protects life on Earth. The advanced underground tunnels guard the gene pool of humanity. We will know that we are not alone in the world, that we are descendants of other beings, that to have good thoughts and pure heart will mean we will progress and flourish. I wish we could do that today. The world is showing much differently, folks. There are pockets, but by the vast majority of what we see, it's nuts. I wonder if this energy, this cosmic rays, this increased energy, is this what we're seeing? All right, the German Tibet expedition. Wilhelm Filtern, was a German explorer born in 1877. Adolf Hitler awarded him the German National Prize for Art and Science as an acknowledgement of his achievements in exploration. It was after he reported his incredible discoveries in Tibet about the secret tunnel to Wilhelm II that he was then tasked with organizing an expedition to Antarctica. There he is. What they discovered at Mount Kailash in Tibet led to everything that happened in Antarctica. Note, Wilhelm II, German emperor, king of Persia, said the following towards the end of his life. So this is almost kind of like a deathbed confession, I guess. The English ruling classes were Freemasons, thoroughly infected by Judah. Wilhelm asserted that the British people must be liberated from the Antichrist Judah. We must drive Judah out of England, just as he has been chased out of the continent. He believed the Freemasons and Jews had caused the two world wars, aiming at a world Jewish empire with British and American gold, but that Judah's plan had been smashed to pieces and they themselves swept out of the European continent. Continental Europe was now, Wilhelm wrote, consolidating and closing itself off from British influences after the elimination of the British and the Jews. The end result would be a U.S. of Europe. In a letter to his sister, Princess Marguerite, in 1940, Wilhelm wrote, "The hand of God is creating a new world and working miracles. We are becoming the U.S. of Europe under German leadership, a united European continent." He added, "The Jews are being thrust out of their nefarious positions in all countries whom they have driven to hostility for centuries." That sounds like what was the problem in World War II. Miguel Serrano. Miguel Serrano, born September 10th, 1917, died February 28th, 2009. He was a retired Chilean diplomat, explorer, and author of poetry, books on spiritual questioning, and esoteric Hitlerism. Serrano's extraordinarily forceful and anti-moderate neo-Gnostic philosophy elucidates the otherworldly origins of the Hyperbeing descended Aryans, image bearers of the Godhead, and a global conspiracy against them by the evil inferior god, the Demiurge, worshipped by the Jews, lord of the planet Earth, spawner of the primitive hominid stocks, and all base materiality. He synthesizes the Indian Vedic and Norse Germanic traditions, both of which he regards as the ancient Aryan hyperbeing provenance. Serrano is especially indebted to the, Jung theory of collective racial archetypes, and follows Savanti Devi in recognizing Adolf Hitler as an avatar who battled against the demonic materialistic host of Kali Yoga. Wow. Yeah, folks, I mean, this thing, to have your head, that's your reality. That is weird. I mean, I got to say, if I heard that, I'd go, man, what have you been smoking, dude? You need to change brands. Miguel maintains that Hitler did not die in Germany, but traveled to Antarctica along with 120 submarines and crews. Those 120 submarines did indeed exist and have never been found. In 1947, Miguel Serrano headed to Antarctica, and then in 1953, he traveled to Mount Kalish to, in his words, find the entrance to Mount Kalish. Serrano, accompanied by the Chilean Army and Navy on their expeditions to Antarctica in 1947-48 as a journalist, obscurely prompted by popular speculation as to Hitler's survival in Antarctica. To Serrano, India and the Tibetan mountains seemed a source of secret, forgotten truth. Serrano immersed himself in its spiritual heritage. He sought out the secret Shadaha order in his Chilean masters in the Himalayas, the journey of which he describes in his poetic book, The Serpent of Paradise. According to the book, although Mount Kailash, where it had its seat, was inaccessible in China, the Chinese administered Tibet, Serrano claims he had discovered the inner aspect of Mount Kailash. He met many leading Indian personalities through his official position and personal charm, becoming close with Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and the Dalai Lama of Tibet. He explains that there has been a vast historical conspiracy to conceal the origins of evolved humankind. And I like that word, studying humankind. That actually does describe us. There are extragalactic beings who founded the first Hyperborea, Serrano states, and the last documents relating to them were destroyed along with the Alexandrian Library. I did a whole thing on that. Madame Helena Provanov Blachowicz, we'll just call her Madame Helena, the famous psychic and occultist who founded the secretive Theosophical Society during Hitler's rule, claimed to have had contact through psychic means with the Brotherhood of Mathatosmisk, a group of ethereal beings who purported to run the world from their Tibetan headquarters. I just want to stop here a minute. What's so odd about this, folks, is what Ariel told us over in the alien interview. This was the place as well where the last remnants of the domain were captured. Coincidental? I don't know. I find that you've got two completely different books, yet they're all focusing in the same place. That's a little odd. And that, among other amazing things, they had revealed the true emergence of life on Earth. Without going into the subject too deeply, she was told that there are 7 root races of beings destined to occupy Earth, that we, present-day humans, are the 5th such race. After us, there are still 2 more yet to come. Apparently, the 6th will evolve out of us and go back to occupy Lemuria. Then the 7th and final root race will leave this planet altogether and start over again upon another planet. To complicate matters even further, each root race is said to be composed of 7 subraces. The descendants of a subrace of the 4th race, who were fully human Atlanteans, are alleged to be the Australian Aborigines, the Papuans, and the Hottentots. Saint Yves Aladair, I believe that. Another French mystic investigator, Saint Yves, in 1886, revealed in his book, Mission to India, that Agathas, Argathus, is a hidden land beneath the surface of the earth, ruled over by a black sovereign pontiff called the Brahmatas. I believe I said that right, yeah. He goes on to say that the realm was shifted underground around 3200 BC at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, or the Golden Age, and that Argatha has known technology such as artificial lighting, mechanized transport, and even air travel far in advance of our own modern technology for millennia. Periodically, Argatha sends emissaries to the upper world, about which it keeps astonishingly well informed. Argatha also has a huge libraries which enshrine the whole wisdom of the ages. Many great secrets lie there regarding many esoteric and spiritual subjects, including amazing skills and abilities long forgotten by those who dwell on the surface. N.B. Jocelyn Goldwyn's absorbing book, Arctos, the Polar Myth. His book bears a great resemblance to Bueller-Lytton's book, The Coming Race, which also tells of an underground world of high-tech beings possessed of a mysterious virile force, so keenly sought by the Nazis in World War II, and who will one day emerge from their subterranean realm to take over the surface. St. Yves insists that such a day really is coming, and that we will be totally defenseless against these super beings who will become the true world rulers. Nor is he the only one to insist that this is true. Many other authors, mystics, and investigators have attempted to solve this whole mystery with varying degrees of success or failure. However, most generally agree that Argatha and Shambhala seem to be closely connected, either as being one and the same place or as two totally opposed realms, one of light and goodness, the other of darkness and evil. Wow. The German SS Anabria project to Tibet. It should come as no surprise that some of those stirred to actions by the Shambhala myth were members of the Nazi Party, in particular those working under Reichsfuhrer Heinrich Himmler in a branch of the SS called the Anabria, which served as the organization's ancestral heritage office. The Anabria was Himmler's pet project, established to trace the heritage of the master race back to its origins. It was to this end that in 1938, 5 SS officers were sent on an expedition to Tibet. The main players in the SS expedition were Ernest Schaefer, a famous explorer and zoologist who served as the expedition's leader, and Bruno Berger, who served as the team's anthropologist. Unlike many of the Anabrias, Schaefer was a respected scientist, and it remains unclear whether his allegiance to the SS was ideological or, as he later claimed, merely opportunistic. Despite scant evidence that the Nazis journeyed to Tibet in search of Shambhala itself, the German-Tibetan expedition was preceded by 2 Tibetan expeditions led by a man who most certainly was Nicholas Roche, once a world-famous painter and renowned mystic who lent his name to a major international treaty, was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 3 times, and played a behind-the-scenes role in the Roosevelt administration. Roche rose to fame at the beginning of the 20th century in his native Russia, where, in addition to his painting practices, he designed sets and costumes for the theater, most notably for the ballet Russia staging as well. He also was involved in Moscow's flourishing occult movement, which, it's something, by the way, folks, you never hear much about the Russian side of things. Deserves a second look, I would say, wouldn't you? let's see where he was at. He was involved in Moscow's occult movement, which orbited around, guess what? HPV's theological teachings. It was through his involvement in construction of the Theological Buddhist Temple in Moscow in 1909 that he met Agafyan Dorvich, the major player in Russian-Tibetan relations and a tutor in the 13th Dalai Lama. Dorvich's fascination with the location of Shambhala would inspire Roach's epic quest. By the time Roach moved to New York City in 1920, he had developed a complex system of beliefs surrounding Shambhala, which he concluded was located in the Himalayas. For Roach, Shambhala was linked not only to the myth of the Holy Grail, but literally connected to the Atlay Mountains in Central Asia via a series of underground tunnels that joined it in beloved the land of white waters from Siberian mythology. Wow. Roach referred to his project of bringing about the eschatological prophecies laid down in the Kalakatra Tantra as the great plan. He believed that it was his calling to fund a pan-Buddhist state, which would unite areas of Russia, Mongolia, and China with Tibet, and whose creation would finally summon the armies of the Shambhala from their mountain strongholds. Nicholas Roach had powerful and influential friends, and two of them, Lewis H. Hort, a successful Wall Street currency broker, and Henry H. Wallace, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Secretary of Agriculture, and later his vice president, would respectively fund Roach's two legendary expeditions in the Far East. The exact details of what occurred on these expeditions remain somewhat cloudy, as Roach, ever secretive about his geopolitical schemings, preferred to maintain in public the persona of an artist, scholar, and guru. However, his actions were public enough to garner the attention of at least a half a dozen governments that were convinced that he was a covert political operative. Wow. Okay. I tell you, this is a fascinating read when you think about it. It's so intertwined with, with the historical record. Baghdad. I don't know the location of this one, but I do know that in 2003, the shield protecting it activated and sent the Americans into a spin because it activated at the same time they activated the one in Romania. Saddam had already spent over $100 million on excavations and reconstructing ancient Babylon. Saddam believed he was in the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar, and he knew about the three wise men coming back through a gateway, but with an extra fourth person coming through with them. Saddam had a lot of ancient artifacts from the above ground, but hadn't at the time found the tunnel below. This was in 2003, shortly before the invasion. Among the Mongolian tribes of Inner Mongolia, wrote the British explorer T. Watkins, there are traditions about tunnels and subterranean worlds which sound as fantastic as anything in modern novels. One legend, if it be that, says that the tunnels led to a subterranean world of antediluvian descent somewhere in the recesses of Afghanistan or in the region of the Hindu Kush. It is Shangri-La, where science and the arts, never threatened by world wars, develop peacefully among a race of vast knowledge. It is given the name Agharti. The two pillars and their importance. This is very interesting because we studied quite a bit on the Sumerian tablets, and we all know of what Stitchin did. All right, the two pillars and their importance to our history. The two pillars play an important part in our history in the story of the wise men, and a fourth person coming through after them were recorded much earlier still. To a certain secret society, this part of our history is extremely important to their rituals. Here are a selection of tablets, etc., from the Sumerian, Assyrian, and Akkadian periods. So we have this one. It says, make the note. The dress and hat relates to the Vatican. Right here, folks. Don't tell me about the Vatican. You can see that here are the three travelers coming through the portal, and yet here comes the fourth one, and look how he is coming through. Again, this is a portal. It makes sense to me now that I know what, but look what the being is stepping on. The cones of life. I mean, this gets really interesting. A portal. Often everyone was saying, well, this is the tree of life. Well, it appears to be something maybe more. A portal. Would that make sense, folks? I mean, we live in this day of where, Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. Portals. I did the thing on the U.S. Capitol, the temple on the House floor. More. Portals. Here's the Freemasons. Same scene, two completely different eras in history. So, what if this is not the tree of life? What if this is, in fact, a device that opens a portal? Until they actually get the guy who actually did it, I don't know. Who can say? Again, you see the portals? The film Prometheus versus Bushichi. It is incredible how much the film Prometheus and the Secrets of Bushi have in common, and yet, unless you know about the information, you only see the film. They like to hide things in plain sight, to reveal truths in small stages. They do this so that when you come across something real, the public can say, you just saw that in the film. This information is starting to slowly come out, but found before the film. Here we go. What are the similarities? 1, tunnels in the film and the Biyashi. Tick. The Sphinx above the tunnels in the film, also above the tunnels of Bushi. The Sphinx, almost an exact match in looks. There it is right there, folks. The projection room in film and the Bushi. The film is about DNA. Guess what? Bushi is about DNA. There are huge correlations between the film and these tunnels. The Great Flood, talked about in nearly all religions, the ancient texts say similar things. This event was not a natural event. Of this, I am sure. One of the things mentioned in the book is joint armies around the world guarding the entrances to the tunnel. In July 2010, a helicopter crashed in the Bushi Mountains, killing all 6 Israeli soldiers. The bodies were not found. I first saw the reports that the bodies were not recovered on several EE news sites. But once I started discussing it, the stories changed to all bodies found at scene. The stories had changed between the first finding of them and then going back to them. Thankfully, I could still find one news source that hadn't talked about it, which still showed what I first read. CNN International News. Israel IDs missing military personnel in Romania crash. And it goes on to show the story. One wonders 2 important questions about this. Why were Israeli soldiers in a helicopter in Romania to begin with? How could they find the helicopter but not find a single body? As I have already said, when I first found this, every news story said the bodies were missing. But it is only after this started to be leaked that the cover-up began. And we're about at this end, folks. So it goes in to show you what is now known. And again, we're about out of time, but it gets so interesting, folks, about what these, and I know I've run out of time, but we'll pick it up. We'll get, well, because it's only a couple pages. So anyway, there you go. Fascinating freaking story. I got to finish it, and I'll do that Wednesday, because you've got to you have to hear about these crystals. Something is up with the crystal. It's amazing. Marguerite, how are you? Yes, it is. This is great. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Amun R, thank you. So yeah, anyway, folks, this week is going to be a phenomenal week. I assure you, by the time we get to Friday night and get to hear what John and Bruce have to say, we're going to have a knowledge base. And as I told already in writing with Bruce, is that I said, you're going to find this audience to be extremely aware, very informed. And I said, you're going to like, and that's why they're coming here. They see y'all. You're the ones that have made it. So thank you. People see the respect and the kindness that takes place in the chat room. Yes, Viola, it is. And people recognize it. Y'all should be so very pleased with yourselves. I mean, it's a testament. It really is. We have the occasional jokers that come in, but hey, eventually I figure they're going to wake up and they're going to see it. And, we still welcome them. Hey, Pearl, how you doing? Yes, they are excellent. I look at, Cajun Queen Tarot, Lois, I kind of look at Lois as the patriarch, Yeah, I just had that thing. Don't mess with the lady, all right, folks. Rad Reggie, well, thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I love you folks. I mean, it's just cool. And like I said, I worked on the weekend to get the week ahead, all these programs. And, you go back and it's like, okay, so now that we have this info, now what do we do? And I think that's the question I'm going to be looking forward to. It's like, all right, so how do we use this? Does it just, like, all right, are we screwed? I don't think so. There is something bigger going on here. And they try to keep on getting us off course, but I don't see that. You know what it is? It's the favor factor here, folks. Miss Julianne Payne, thank you for your gifts, my dear. She is our resident alchemist. So, and Julie, thank you for sending me the videos. What's going on down there in Australia, folks? If what the evidence is showing, why would they do that deliberately? Well, it might be because there's a bigger agenda going on here. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, folks. Much love to you. Peace. Tomorrow with Miss Trina. It's always a great hour with her. And we'll pick up on Wednesday here and start getting into the two programs leading up to Friday night. All right, folks. Thank you. It is an honor to be with y'all. And we will certainly see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.